Layla had always been quiet, a soft presence in every room she entered. People noticed her, but they never quite understood her. She had a way of looking at the world that made everything seem gentle, almost fragile, as if she carried a secret no one else could touch. That secret was her voice. Layla had discovered it when she was very young, humming along to the radio, then experimenting with small songs she wrote herself. Her voice could carry joy, sadness, longing, all in one note. It was the kind of voice that left a mark on anyone who heard it, though very few ever did. She had never sung in front of anyone except her diary and the piano in their small living room. Daniel, her father, was a patient man, thoughtful and careful. He noticed his daughter's quiet brilliance early on, though he didn't fully understand it. He had watched her grow up, seen her draw, write, and experiment with small artistic projects. But music was different. Music was alive. It breathed. And the first time he heard her sing, he realized that Layla's gift was extraordinary. It was a rainy afternoon when it happened. Daniel had come home early, needing a quiet break from work. The streets were wet, the smell of rain hanging in the air. He opened the door and called her name softly, expecting the usual answer, a casual, "I'm here." But what came back was different. A soft melody floated through the house, delicate and strange, almost like a thread connecting two hearts across a distance. Daniel followed the sound to the living room. There she was, sitting at the piano, eyes closed, fingers moving over the keys with a confidence he had never seen. Her head tilted slightly, lips moving to form the notes of a song he didn't know, that felt deeply in his chest. He froze, not wanting to disturb her, but he could not move. He felt something inside him shift. This was not just talent. It was something more, something raw and emotional. He was seeing Layla not as a little girl, or even a teenager, but as someone capable of touching hearts with a simple melody. He swallowed hard, afraid that speaking would break the spell. But she noticed him anyway, opening her eyes with a small, surprised smile. "Dad," she said softly, her voice catching mid-note. She paused, uncertainty in her eyes. "You have a gift," he whispered, stepping closer but keeping a respectful distance. "Never stop, truly. You are special. But promise me, this stays between us." Layla nodded, a blush warming her cheeks. Something about his tone, gentle but filled with awe, made her heart race. She had never felt seen like this before. His words were more than praise. They were recognition of the part of herself she had been too shy to share. In that moment, a quiet understanding formed between them, something neither could put into words. It was a bond of trust, admiration, and the knowledge that some things were too precious to reveal too quickly. After that day, their interactions subtly changed. Daniel listened without interrupting when she played, offering small suggestions, encouragement, or just silent support. Layla, in turn, felt a mixture of excitement and fear every time she approached the piano. She wanted to share her music, but she also cherished the intimacy of this private world they had created. It was theirs alone, a shared secret that made her feel both protected and emboldened. Yet the gift was also a source of tension. Layla wanted more. She dreamed of stages, applause, and a world that could hear her voice. But the idea of leaving this safe space, the warmth of her father's quiet admiration, made her hesitate. Could she trust the world with something so fragile? Could she step into the spotlight without losing the safety of this bond? These questions haunted her, though she rarely voiced them. She confided only in the piano, letting her emotions flow through her fingertips and into the melody. Daniel, for his part, understood more than he let on. He saw the longing in her eyes, the restless energy when she lingered near the piano, fingers hovering uncertainly over the keys. He recognized the conflict between her desire to soar and her need to feel protected. That night, he left a small note on the piano bench. "Your gift is yours, but it is strong. Let it grow at its own pace. I will always be here." It was a simple message, but it carried immense weight. It was encouragement, permission, and reassurance all at once. The days passed, each one filled with quiet practice sessions, small compositions, and moments of reflection. Leela began experimenting with different melodies, combining joy with melancholy, strength with vulnerability. Her voice grew richer, more confident, and more emotive. Daniel watched these changes, often from across the room, feeling pride mixed with a strange, protective ache he could not name. He knew she was becoming more than she had been, and the thought of her stepping into the wider world brought both hope and fear. One evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, painting the sky in shades of orange and pink, Leela played a song she had written herself. It was longer, more complex, full of crescendos and pauses that held the listener in suspense. Daniel listened silently, eyes closed, letting the music fill the room. He felt as if he were witnessing a secret conversation between his daughter and the world, a message only he could partially understand. When the final note faded, he opened his eyes and saw her watching him expectantly. "That was incredible," he said, his voice hushed. "You're ready for more. But remember, our secret is precious. Guard it and let it guide you." Leila nodded, her chest tight with emotion. She understood now that her talent was not just about being heard. It was about being nurtured, about trust, and about choosing when and where to let the world in. The piano became a sanctuary, a place where she could explore her voice, emotions, and dreams without fear. Each day brought new songs, new melodies, and new discoveries about herself. And with every note, her bond with Daniel deepened, a silent acknowledgement that some connections are stronger than words, built on understanding, respect, and shared wonder. By the time the week ended, Lila's music had grown in ways even she hadn't anticipated. She had discovered the courage to experiment, the ability to convey emotion, and the joy of creating something purely her own. Daniel, observing quietly, felt a mixture of pride and anticipation, knowing that the world might one day hear her, but also knowing that this first chapter was theirs alone. The secret of her talent had become a treasure, a foundation on which dreams could safely grow. And yet, despite the quiet happiness, a spark of anticipation lingered in the air. Lila could sense that opportunities were near, moments that would challenge her to step beyond their safe haven. But for now, the piano, the melodies, and the gentle encouragement of her father were enough. It was a beginning, a seed planted in fertile soil, waiting to bloom. The world could wait. The days after Daniel had heard Lila play were filled with a new energy in their home. Layla carried herself differently now, her movements lighter, as if every step resonated with the music inside her. She practiced tirelessly, her fingers moving across the piano keys with growing confidence, discovering new melodies and experimenting with rhythms she had never dared to try before. Each song she composed was a reflection of her heart, a mixture of hope, curiosity, and longing. Yet beneath the excitement, there was a quiet tension that Lila could not shake, the tension of knowing the world outside their home might one day call her forward. Daniel noticed it immediately, her glances toward the window, lingering too long. On the streets below, suggested a mind full of possibilities and questions. He sensed her restlessness, the push and pull of wanting to be heard, while still clinging to the safety of their private world. One evening he found her staring at the piano, fingers hovering over the keys, unsure of what to play. He approached quietly, careful not to startle her. "You're thinking about tomorrow," he said softly. Leela looked up, startled for a moment, then nodded. Her voice caught in her throat. "There's a festival," she admitted. "Some people, they said they're looking for young musicians." Daniel's eyes softened. He had expected this moment would come eventually, the world reaching out to her, the chance to test her voice beyond the walls of their home. Yet he felt a mixture of pride and concern. Lila had talent, immense talent, but he knew how fragile confidence could be, how quickly dreams could be overshadowed by fear or doubt. "You're ready," he said gently. "The world deserves to hear you. But remember, our bond, our trust, it stays between us." The words sank deep into Lila's heart. They were a promise, a reassurance that no matter how far she went, she had a safe place to return to. But the thought of performing in front of strangers, of being seen and judged, made her chest tighten. She wanted to soar, to let her music reach beyond the walls of her home, yet she feared stepping out of the cocoon they had created. Over the next few days, Lila practiced obsessively. She tried different melodies, adjusted her timing, experimented with dynamics, and recorded herself to hear how her voice would sound to others. Daniel observed silently, sometimes offering gentle advice, other times simply listening. He never criticized, only guided with encouragement. Each note she played seemed to awaken something in him too, a mix of pride, nostalgia, and a quiet, unspoken longing for the simplicity of their shared secret. As the festival approached, Lila grew both excited and anxious. She imagined the crowd, the stage lights, the faces of strangers waiting to hear her. At night, she would lie awake, the melodies running through her mind, each note a mixture of fear and exhilaration. Daniel noticed her sleepless nights, and one evening placed his hand over hers as she sat at the piano. "You're ready for this," he said softly. "But don't forget, courage doesn't mean not feeling fear. It means moving forward despite it." Lila's eyes shimmered with unshed tears. She wanted to believe him, to trust that she could face the crowd without losing herself. She pressed her fingers to the keys, letting the music flow, using it as both armor and expression. Each practice session became a battle and a release, a way to channel the emotions that words could not capture. The night before the festival, Lila stayed at the piano longer than usual. The house was quiet, the air heavy with anticipation. She played a piece she had written especially for this moment, a song that captured hope, vulnerability, and the longing to be seen. Daniel sat nearby, listening, the soft glow of the lamp highlighting his thoughtful expression. He did not interrupt, did not offer advice. He simply let the music speak, letting Lila find her own courage. When the final note faded into silence, Leela exhaled shakily. Her hands trembled slightly, and she realized just how much this moment meant to her. It was more than a performance. It was a test of herself, a chance to step beyond the boundaries she had known all her life. Daniel looked at her, a small smile on his lips, pride shining in his eyes. "You've done everything you can," he said. "Tomorrow, let the world see what I've been lucky enough to witness all along." The next morning, the festival hall was alive with energy. Musicians and performers from all over the town had gathered, their conversations blending into a buzz of excitement. Leela felt her heart race as she approached the stage. Her fingers gripped the edge of the piano nervously, and for a moment, doubt threatened to overwhelm her. But then she spotted Daniel at the back of the hall, standing quietly, watching her with unwavering support. Seeing him there, she felt a wave of calm wash over her. The nervousness was still present, but it was tempered by the knowledge that she had someone in her corner who believed in her completely. Taking a deep breath, she let her fingers touch the keys and began to play. The first notes were cautious, but as the melody grew, so did her confidence. She felt the music flow through her, each note carrying her emotions, her dreams, and her fears. The audience fell silent, captivated by the purity and honesty of her performance. Leela lost herself in the music, no longer aware of the crowd or the lights. She played not to impress, but to express, letting the song tell her story. And as she played, she realized something profound. Sharing her gift did not diminish the bond she had with Daniel. It strengthened it. Their secret had not been about hiding her talent from the world. It had been about nurturing it until she was ready. When the final note lingered in the air, the hall erupted into applause. Lila's chest heaved, tears of relief and joy spilling down her cheeks. She looked at Daniel, whose eyes glimmered with pride, and felt a surge of gratitude. She had stepped into the world, and the world had responded. But more importantly, she had honored the private connection that had given her the courage to take that step. Later, backstage, Daniel approached her. "You were incredible," he said, his voice low but steady. "I knew you could do this. Remember, this is only the beginning. Keep your heart open and never lose sight of who you are." Leela nodded, holding on to the moment. She understood now that the secret they had shared, the trust and guidance, had been the foundation for everything. The performance was not just about being heard. It was about realizing her own strength, discovering that she could face the world without losing herself, and carrying the bond she cherished with her father wherever she went. As they left the hall that evening, walking through quiet streets bathed in streetlight, Lila felt a mix of exhilaration and peace. She had taken the first step into the world, and yet she knew some things were hers alone. The melodies she had created, the emotions she had expressed, and the bond she shared with Daniel were treasures she would carry forever. And in that quiet understanding, a gentle promise formed between them. The world could admire her music, but their secret, their shared understanding, would remain sacred. For Lila, the festival was more than a performance. It was proof that courage could grow from love, that talent needed nurturing, and that some connections were so deep they could guide you even when you stepped into the unknown. And as she looked back at Daniel one last time that night, she knew she would never stop. Not because the world demanded it, but because the music inside her demanded it, and because someone had believed in her before anyone else ever could. The morning of the final performance arrived with a mixture of excitement and nerves that made Lila feel alive in a way she had never experienced before. The festival hall was bustling, filled with performers, families, and spectators. The chatter and laughter created a lively backdrop. But for Lila, the world had narrowed down to the stage waiting for her. She clutched her sheet music tightly, her hands trembling slightly, and took a deep breath to steady herself. Daniel stood at the back of the hall, quiet but alert, eyes never leaving her. His presence was a calm anchor, reminding her that no matter what happened, she had someone who believed in her completely. Lila had never realized how much she relied on that quiet support until now. The moment she stepped onto the stage, the bright lights and expectant faces sent a shiver down her spine. She froze for a second, heart pounding. But then she remembered Daniel's words. Courage doesn't mean not feeling fear. It means moving forward despite it. Taking another deep breath, Lila sat at the piano. The keys were familiar, yet tonight they felt different, more alive, almost anticipating the music she was about to pour through them. She began with a soft note, testing the space, feeling the resonance. The audience leaned in subconsciously, drawn by the honesty in her voice. Slowly, the melody unfolded, flowing naturally, each note carrying the emotion she had practiced in private for so long. The song was personal, yet universal. It spoke of hope, longing and dreams held close to the heart. Leela felt a connection, not just with the music but with every person listening, as if the notes bridged the gap between her inner world and the outside. With every chord, she grew more confident, more expressive, letting the music carry her beyond fear and hesitation. She didn't just play the piano, she told a story, one that resonated deeply with anyone willing to listen. From the back of the hall, Daniel watched silently, a mixture of pride and awe washing over him. He felt the same thrill he had felt the first time he heard Leela play at home, but now it was amplified by the presence of the world she was stepping into. The bond they shared, the private encouragement and trust, had given her the courage to shine. And shine she did. Every note, every pause, every rise and fall in the melody reflected her dedication, her emotions, and the countless hours spent nurturing her gift in secrecy. As the song reached its crescendo, Leela felt herself merging with the music. She had stepped into a world of lights and strangers, yet she was grounded by the memory of quiet afternoons with her father, by the knowledge that someone had always believed in her. The melody soared, filling the hall, and for a moment, time seemed to pause. She was no longer just a girl playing piano. She was an artist sharing her soul with the world. The final note lingered in the air, delicate and fragile, then faded into silence. For a heartbeat, there was nothing but quiet. And then the applause began, soft at first, then swelling into a roar of appreciation. Leela's chest heaved, tears slipping down her cheeks. She felt overwhelmed, not by the attention itself, but by the realization that she had conquered fear and stepped into her true potential. She looked toward Daniel, who gave her a nod, his eyes gleaming with unspeakable pride. In that single look, she felt reassurance, love, and a promise that the bond they had would remain unbroken, no matter what path she took. Backstage, as she wiped her tears and took a moment to breathe, performers and organizers approached, praising her performance. Leela smiled, feeling a warmth that had nothing to do with recognition and everything to do with personal growth. She realized that the applause was not just for her talent, but for her courage, the courage to share her secret with the world, without losing the intimacy of what had nurtured it. Daniel joined her moments later, his presence grounding her once again. "You were incredible," he said quietly, his voice filled with emotion. "I knew you could do this. But this is only the beginning." Leela's eyes shone with determination. "I understand," she replied softly. "I want to keep going, but I don't want to lose what you've given me." "You won't," Daniel assured her. "Our bond isn't about hiding you from the world. It's about giving you the strength to face it. Some things are ours alone, but that doesn't stop you from sharing your gift. Remember that." The words struck her deeply. She had thought that performing publicly might change the secret they shared, but she realized now that it enhanced it. Their connection had been the foundation that allowed her to step forward. It was a quiet support, a safe harbor, the knowledge that she could return to the intimacy of shared trust and understanding, no matter how far she went. The rest of the evening passed in a blur. People came to congratulate her, and she navigated the conversations with a mix of humility and pride. Each interaction reminded her that the world could admire her music, but it could not replace the quiet moments she had shared with Daniel, moments of practice, gentle encouragement, and trust that had shaped her journey. As the hall emptied and night settled over the town, Leela and Daniel walked through the quiet streets, the city lights reflecting in puddles from the afternoon rain. She felt a sense of accomplishment and serenity she had never known. The festival had tested her, challenged her, And yet she had emerged stronger, more confident, and deeply connected to her own emotions and her father's unwavering support. Never realized how much courage I had until now, she admitted softly. You always had it, Daniel replied. You just needed to see it in yourself. And now the world has too. They reached their home, the familiar warmth of the living room welcoming them back. Leela glanced at the piano, a smile tugging at her lips. It had been the place where everything began, where her voice first found its wings. Now, it was also a reminder that some foundations remain, even as we grow, even as we step into the unknown. Sitting down together, they listened to a recording she had made during the festival, the notes echoing in the quiet room. Leela felt a sense of peace, knowing that her music had touched others, but more importantly, that she had honored the secret bond that had allowed her to reach this moment. I will keep going, she said softly, her voice steady. And I will. Never forget this, us, everything that brought me here. Daniel nodded, a gentle smile on his face. That's all I ever wanted. Keep your heart open. Never stop creating. And always remember that some things are sacred, not because they are hidden, but because they give you strength. In that quiet night,